Hello, welcome to Full-Time Live after Fulham's game against Newcastle at Craven Cottage, and welcome to the relegation party live here on the Fulhamish YouTube, on the Twitter account and on Facebook. Get involved in the comments, say what you think about the match. Tell a joke. I don't really know. It doesn't really matter. We'll discuss the game a bit, but who frankly cares? I've sent the link out to this just to random people as well, so people might just join in. In fact, if you follow me on Twitter or whatever, and you just want to join in, send me a DM and I'll send you the link to the stream because no one cares. Anyway, joining me today, I've got Cam Ram. How you doing, Cam?
Oh, we got a couple of Coronas on the go. Just
hey,
going, boys. That's what we got to do.
The party has started. I got Rhys Daly as well. How you doing, Rhys?
Oh yeah, not too bad. Not too bad.
Are you on the booze?
Not at the moment, no.
Oh,
no, I'm still
you might need one, Rhys. Come on, boy.
Soaking in the misery of what's been this season.
Who comes to a party without a beer?
I'll grab one after. Don't worry.
You've come to the relegation party without anything to offer. Shocking play. All right. Before we get started with the party, let's do the formalities and talk a bit about the game. Cam, just shit, isn't it? Let's just stop dressing it up. That is wank. And there's just no attacking intent. And how Ademola Lookman has transformed from the player he was when he played against Sheffield United earlier in the season to what we saw today. My God, Parker sucked the life out of him.
Look, no matter how you sugarcoat today, we were looking for a little bit more of a reaction, a resurgence going into next season as well. But there was no semblance of any real fight and desire in the squad. And you're right. The front two, I thought, of Caballero and Lookman were about depressing as you can get as a Fulham attack force without any shadow of a doubt. Lookman's completely dropped off the face of the earth as a progressive spark in our attack. He's really kind of degraded into just kind of like average, bit part player. And I completely blame that on Scott's negative attacking tactics. And what can you say? It was just an absolute awful watch from back to front.
I mean, Rhys, we are watching a record-breaking team. We have broken the long-standing Premier League record for fewest goals in a home season. Huddersfield and Man City previously had the joint record of 10. Fulham have managed to eclipse it with 9. Come on! Come on, the boys.
Actually
in the history books.
9 goals. That is beyond bad. I mean, when we started to get really solid at the back, we completely lost any sort of attacking intent. Almost sacrificing any strikers we had to add another midfielder into the mix, and we just couldn't score any goals. The fact that Mitrovic isn't involved at all, I know maybe he's injured, but unbelievable. That stat. I'm glad we weren't there this season, to be honest. I mean, there was a few boos today, but there would have been a lot more.
Oh, completely with you, Rhys. Honestly, I mean, how would we stomach that for 9 months on end, watching such turgid, flat football? We're masquerading as a Premier League club already. I don't think we were really prepared for Premier League football this season, but it just showed we were so poor. And what a journey. I'm so glad it's ended because it's one that I never want to get back on again. Give us Championship football from now on.
I mean, it just has been insipid. I don't think this record would have been broken with fans at the Cottage. I just think that that is a factor. How many games just drifted away from us where we couldn't score a goal. I don't think we break that record with fans at the Cottage, but still, it's a pretty horrible one to stomach, Cam. And just so flat. And today, I'm really trying to back Parker. I really am. But if he comes out here and says, a post-match interview, says it was fine margins today and the lads gave it all and I was proud of my team, I honestly might just start bashing my head against the wall.
All the cliches that go with it, he's one for that. He's got a book dedicated to it already. But you would have thought in the last home game of the season in front of 2,000 fans, which have been deprived of this bullshit all season, that he would have put on a bit more of a show to at least help us with this relegation party, which we're hosting at the moment. But it's been the same story for months on end now. It's just trying to find and remedy our horribly, disjointed attack. And it really hasn't happened at all. But also, I thought defensively at times, we looked fairly sound, but it proved as soon as Joe Willock opened up his stride and Saint Maximin did the same, we reverted back into that scared shell of which we've always been, and we couldn't deal with any of the intensity or power coming our way. I just can't really put into words just how deflated, dejected I feel after such a horrible season. And there'd be plenty of conversations damning and vindictive going on over the summer, which will more or less shed some light on where we're going to be next season. But it needs to happen because we can't carry on like this.
I mean, Rhys, please tell me that Maximus is winding me up. My manager rating for Parker this season, A-. Think he's done a great job. I mean, it's superb trolling this, Maximus. Surely not.
Scott Parker has been given so much support from other managers and things. He can really come out this season from the outside with his head held high. That's what people genuinely believe. But the fact is, we've been terrible. We've been absolutely terrible. I mean, that period now we were up there with City for conceding minimal goals in that period. It's bizarre looking back at it now. We completely fell out of that mode, and when we were 1-0 up at Villa as well, what a huge moment that was, and we completely threw it away. And after that, what was the point in the rest of our games? Honestly, just making up the numbers. I mean, today I've never been so sure that a player was going to score against us as Joe Willock today. And I thought it'd be because they're making loads of chances, when it turns out he'd just run the length of the pitch unchallenged and just smash one home. The only positives you can take, I'm glad to see Rodak back. I think he's going to be very important for us next season. Confusion over Tim Ream's contract. I think he might have another year as well.
Yeah,
I always like to see him at the back, but not quite in the Premier League. In the Championship, why not? Tosin next to him, maybe that could be a partnership. Trying to take the positives today, but I mean, there's not many of them.
No,
there are. I mean, it doesn't. Yeah, sorry, Cam.
No, I agree. I mean, there's not many positives, but it was nice to see, obviously, Carvalho get back out there, and he was fairly ineffective. I think that he was shadowed out the game quite nicely, but also a player that's kind of, flirted with first-team football for maybe a year or so now is Tyrese Francois as well, who I think's a very cute, neat player on the ball. And once again, I don't really think he was given too much time and space to really influence things, but it's a nice taste of first-team football for these lads still. And at least that's something we can certainly build on, especially after, the under-18s at the weekend, just coming short against the Manchester City equivalent. There's bright times ahead, but we need them now. You can't really you can't really bet your hedges on players coming through in 2-3 years' time. We need those aspiring young players to step up if they're going to make an impact.
One of the positives about relegation as well. Yeah, as you mentioned, the youngsters, one of the positives is that they're going to get a lot more opportunities now just by the very nature of it. Feels a lot like when we went down the first relegation when the youth team were doing so well. That cohort a few of them managed to squeeze into the first team as Felix tried to finish them early, but some of them managed to forge semi-decent careers after that. But yeah, that's the thing. Next season, we just got to look to that. I mean, Scott Parker today, he's got his head down. He's completely lost that fire. I think I can't see him carrying on. To be honest, I feel like in his head, it's come to the end. And he can, leave with our respect. He's really done his best. He's tried to do his best. He's given everything, and it looks like he's got nothing left out there today.
You look at this point from Jordan, he says there's no way Tony can replace a manager in most of the squad in one summer. That is my concern about losing Parker. You've already got a lack of continuity with losing so many players. You then have to get a new manager in there. I don't think it does Fulham that much good.
I'm interested to see what Tony says now. I mean, he's not been active talking about Fulham for a long while now. A few likes on social media. I'm interested if there's going to be a statement. I'm not quite sure what Scott is saying at the moment, but there needs to be a change. And I think if there isn't one, I think we all know what the issue is Parker has. And if there isn't a change there, then I don't think he's going to want to carry on. And on the flip side of that, he's a player that used to play for us. What manager is going to come in and see him drained as he is and think, oh, yeah, I can step into those shoes?
Yeah, I mean, it's always going to be relatively exciting for a manager, but I don't really exactly know who's going to have it. I mean, Cav missed an absolute sitter today, didn't he? Robbing Fabio Carvalho of an assist. And Aiden says, I don't want to see Caballero in the Championship. Maybe harsh, but I think Caballero has some assets to his game, but please never up front again. And I know that today Parker was trying to not play low knees, so kind of had no real choice but to put doesn't want to play Mitro, so had no real choice but to put Cav up front. But let's please say that today is the last ever time that we see him at centre forward for Fulham FC.
Well, Cav, he blows so hot and cold, and he has done for the entire season as well, you know. And today I actually thought, despite of what I said earlier, you know, Lookman and Cav being a very, very unbalanced strike force, but I didn't actually think he started too badly at all. I thought he got himself some good situations and some good areas where he could at least work the target, which he obviously didn't. But he seems to completely lose composure in those, you know, crucial situations. And you're right. I mean, it was a great thread through from Carvalho to put him into a prime position, but in that area, you'd like the youngster to at least jink into the 18-yard box and have a little pop himself after finishing so well against Southampton. And that is kind of detriment to, you know, Cavaleiro's form recently. You know, he's supposed to be an experienced head in the squad and somebody that we would have been banking on to make a difference this season, because he was okay last term. But he hasn't answered any critics really this season at all. The only thing he's done is made his reputation worse. And yeah, if he's going to be filling a centre forward berth next season, we can all basically just don't bother coming. You know,
the game today did sum up Cav, didn't it? Completely. I mean, he looked like he was getting his eye in. He had a few decent efforts. He clipped the bar, and then he gets the biggest chance he'll have all season. Puts it over the bar. It makes me more surprised that Leicester penalty was so good. Because it's not out of character for Cav. It's not his game. It's not his game. He needs to be on the right wing, creating chances, rather than on the left and putting them over the bar.
And you know what it is? It's today was obviously such a nothing game. There was no pressure. There was nothing riding with it, apart from just going out with a bang and a bit of a high. And he still couldn't answer our cries just for, you know, one last hurrah at Craven Cottage. I mean, even a 1-1 draw would have been fairly underwhelming, to be quite honest with you, but it's something to kind of take into next season. But we've come away with a 2-0 loss because people can't finish their fucking dinner. You know, it's been toil, you know, a tiresome, toilsome kind of situation all season, which we just can't shake.
Which in a way you can't blame Parker for some of the terrible finishing. Like, well, I mean, if you really want to get into the micromanagement of it, you could say maybe they could have some better coaching, but ultimately, like, Parker must just be there. And that's why I think there will be a clear out. And I think that Parker will have had enough of some of these players and will be saying, like, if I'm staying next season, this player's got to go. This player's got to go. I cannot rely. Like Cavaleiro, I think like he seems like a nice enough bloke. Maybe he's got a future as like a kind of squad rotation left winger if we did somehow get back up. But like, I think this season has proved that he is not Premier League standard. And Wolves pulled our pants down for him. Like, absolutely pulled our pants down for him.
We had a lot of very similar players this season, and Cav goes into that mould where they're all trying to create chances, and there's absolutely no one there to finish it. I mean, we've not even spoken about Mitro really, but if Mitro goes, and we don't get to see him off one more time, then that really just sour taste in the mouth. The fans get nothing to cheer today as well. That's a real shame.
I just enjoy this comment from Fulham boy who just wanted to get it off his chest. So fair enough, mate. Just just let it out. If you want to like swear in the comments and get it published, I don't care. I don't care today. Like, just do it.
I hope he's not talking about us.
He's like, fuck off. Fucking Cam, Rhys, Sammy here every week on the Fulhamish YouTube channel. This one from KGMD Music. Are you a musician? Do you write songs? Can you write us a song? I don't know. I don't know why Shad Khan gets away with no criticism. He allows his son to take the piss out of our club. Terrible leadership. I'm getting more on board with this point.
Yeah,
like,
I am as well.
Fair enough. He writes a nice program note, but I don't think that should get him out of the criticism. Ultimately, like, you can hate Tony all you want, but it's someone's job to put him there, and it's someone's job to get rid of him if he wants, and it's Shade Khan's job. And I just think, like, I'm not the biggest Tony Khan fan either. I don't love that he spends all his time wrestling. I think that the whole situation of him kind of lording over our transfers is a really, really unhealthy one. But there is one man who can change all that, who thinks that because he writes a nice program note, that he just gets away with it. And whilst, yes, we're all grateful for his money, we're all grateful that he's here. And I can see why people are scared to piss him off, because without him, Fulham are in a situation. But you cannot just build a stand, keep things in the status quo, and get away with it. You ultimately have to be culpable. You call yourself a custodian. Well, here are the, custodies saying that, like, you need to do better if you want to be our custodian. I don't know. Is that a harsh thing to say, Cam?
No, I don't really think so. I think it's also down to the fact that he is Tony's fucking dad, and if your son's being berated so heavily, you've got to look at the warning signs and realise that he's just not very good at what he does. I think it's got to come to a time being the big boy, the big boss in this in this club that we have at the moment. He's got to take his son to one side and go, you know what, mate, you've had a bit of fun here. Go to America and have jolly up with your wrestling franchise, but leave the serious stuff to people that actually know what they're doing. We've screamed and applauded, and we've really pleaded with the club for so long now to get somebody in that has an idea of how to bring in those players and not necessarily work on so much of a rigid statistician kind of program, which can work. It works in different environments and infrastructures, but for us, I just think we need somebody in place who knows what they're looking for, and knows exactly what we need as a club to progress and move forward. And Tony doesn't. And I think Shad, like you say, he comes across as a very genuine character that obviously has the club's best interests at heart. But it's one thing to write a beautiful, glowing sentiment in, a match day program. It's another thing to actually come out and action upon, the deplorable situation of which we're in. I don't see him really doing it. It's going to be the same old story. We're in the Championship. We might struggle for a year or two, but all of a sudden we resurge because we've gotten ourselves back to a relative state of security. We don't need that. This is Fulham, we were in the Premier League for how long? 13 years, and now we're a yo-yo club. This is not the way it's supposed to be, and we need to really get that sorted out.
I feel like it's Tony is juggling 3 full-time jobs, isn't he? I don't believe for a second that he wants to cause friction. We know he doesn't like the criticism he's got from fans. He's bitten back a few times, but I feel there is going to be a change this summer. I feel like there is. I feel like there's something to come in. It's the fact he hasn't said anything for a few weeks makes me think there might be something coming up. I feel like it'll be soon because there's a big summer ahead and there's a lot of other things going on. And I know Parker keeps saying he needs to have this sit down, but they really need to have it now. They need to talk about it. But I can't see a situation in which Parker gets that fire back in his stomach that he had last season. Who knows what the way forward is for him and a possible replacement, but something needs to happen, doesn't it? The discontent from the fans, it's different to last time. Last time we went down, we were terrible for a long time and we all just sort of wanted to forget about it. But going up again and doing it a similar fashion. And I think we need 2 years in the Championship now. I feel like if we were somehow fluke playoff next year, we know we're good in the playoffs. It's our forte, isn't it? But we almost need that second year now. We need to have a better squad that's going to go up and you don't have to change it after 4 games. It doesn't work.
Can I just be self-indulgent here? Got a comment here from Glenn Bridges. Says, after a frustrating season, what would sting more now? Brentford going up or Chelsea winning the Champions League? Bit of context. Glenn is one of my best mates and he's a Chelsea fan. And it's his stag do next weekend. And I think he should be cleverer than to write comments like this on the Fulhamish YouTube channel before the best man is in control of his stag. So just you wait for next Saturday, Glenn Bridges. Connor Moss says, the fact Lingard and Willock have come in Jan and had about 10 times the impact RLC had just sums up our luck this season. Cam, why the fuck was Loftus-Cheek coming off the bench? What was anyone thinking that was a good idea?
Well, you fucking tell me. It's not like he's endeared ourselves to the fans and 2,000 people sitting in the terraces basically booing him as soon as he gets anywhere near the pitch isn't a good sign to start with. But come on, let's face it. Even a relative novice like Carvalho, in the space of, 75 minutes, had a greater impact than a so-called England international and Ruben Loftus-Cheek that shouldn't be anywhere near a Premier League squad in my estimation. He's been given a clean shot this year to really rubber stamp himself upon Thomas Tuchel's plan next season. He's been virtually, uninjured. He hasn't had any real spells on the sidelines, and he just hasn't taken the opportunity by the scruff of the neck or had any kind of, impact whatsoever. And I just think for a player that was held in such high regard, I mean, when he arrived, I wrote a bloody article about him, lauding his skill sets and, calling him the best thing since fucking sliced bread. And he's turned out to be one of the worst revelations that's ever happened to Fulham Football Club. And you have players like Joachim Andersen that's sitting in the terraces. They weren't involved in the matchday squad at all. You would have loved to have seen him to give him a send-off, because he's been fantastic compared to Ruben Loftus-Cheek. It's such a shame, that players don't get recognition.
That was an odd thing today, Rhys. Like, Areola, player of the season voted for by the fans, and I'm pretty sure Joachim Andersen would have been in the top 3. For them not to get in the squad today, but Loftus-Cheek to come on at half-time, for Anguissa, who's not going to be here next season, seemed like just a bit of a weird move. Like, what were you trying to do there, Parker? Like, we didn't need to win the game that badly.
It is interesting. It points towards the fact that maybe Parker is planning for next season, or at least trying to give someone a hand up if there is to be a replacement. Not having him in the squad, I mean, odd. I'm not quite sure what's going on. I'm glad there was less loanees though in the starting lineup. I think just Lookman. I don't know what the plan was. I don't know what the plan was. I would have loved a couple of goals today, even a draw. Get a couple of goals in front of the fans. I mean, think about 13-14 that final day, Crystal Palace. That was a great day. That's a memorable day still. Woodrow and Chris David both scoring. It's another downer today. Really poor performance. Newcastle were always going to win that, and the fact that we were gunning for this last day against Newcastle, if we're within 3 points, we could. They've just been leagues above us in the last month, and that sums it up. There wasn't a lot of great teams. There was a real opportunity. It wasn't like there was only 3 bad teams. There was a few that were really struggling, and those 3 games we had where we failed to climb up the bottom 3. That's got to be a huge regret for the whole squad.
Well, also, you look at the way the season panned out, and look, you don't know how fixtures would go with certain results, but we actually could have stayed up if we'd have beaten Burnley. If we'd beaten Burnley, Southampton and Newcastle, Fulham would still be in the Premier League. And everyone thought it was dead and done. And look, do Burnley lose to Sheffield United on the final day of the season if their Premier League's lives are on it? Maybe not. But Fulham would have stayed up. And also with the points at Old Trafford, that would have changed things as well. There was a chance. There was a real chance for Fulham to stay up. It was not mathematical. And I think, look, I see this from Jacob Wong, and like, he says, unpopular opinion, transfers will great this year. Everyone is scapegoating Tony for the fact that Parker has absolutely failed at bringing this team together. We are way worse than the sum of our parts. I see that. I'm not blind here criticizing Tony all the time. I criticize Tony because I don't think that you can do the absolute best job possible whilst you also run 2 other franchises. But that we've got to get real here, that there was a real chance to stay up, and we bottled it massively.
I just don't know how you can't formulate, a practical setup with the players we had at our disposal. We didn't have a shit squad. On paper, we actually had a squad which was worthy of mid-table football in the Premier League, without a shadow of a doubt. The way Mitrovic was ejected from matchday proceedings, injury or, speculation, disregarding that, how do we not get the best out of him this season? How do we really not get the best out of RLC? Even Ademola Lookman, it does go down to the fact that Parker didn't really have a Scooby of how he wanted us to line up each week and what direction we really wanted to go. It was more or less a hit and hope kind of situation for Parker this year, where he more or less set us up in the fact that we were just winging it every single game. That's what it felt like anyway. And if we could scrape a fortuitous win every once in a while, it might keep us in the running for safety. But we haven't been good value this year for, staying in this division, and we are rightfully relegated. And can you imagine if we stuck with the setup and, management that we have this year, next year, nothing would ever change. We'd be in the same situation. There would be an even worse deficit. So I think the best things happen for us. And I totally agree that next season is a rebuilding process, and there's going to be some very difficult conversations. But I don't want us to be in the Premier League for at least another 3 to 4 years. I'm going to be honest with you, so we don't need it as a club. We need.
I can't get on board with that, Cam. I just can't. 3 to 4 years. That's not like. Look at what Charlton, Sheffield Wednesday, Sunderland. There's too many examples of teams that do that and
get stuck.
But they're poorly. But I know that we're seemingly fairly, poorly run. But Charlton, Sunderland, those are clubs that also have people in charge that didn't know what they were doing, and that's why they fell so, ungracefully.
It's interesting how. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just gonna back up with the fact that I don't actually think we've got bad footballing people at the club other than Tony Khan. I think it does boil down to the fact that recruitment hasn't been as good as it can be, and Scott Parker wasn't ready for Premier League football this season, and that's all it is. I don't think the club's in too much of a bad situation in disarray that we're going to plummet like Charlton and Sunderland do. I just think we need to be realistic and level ourselves out a bit. That's all.
It's interesting. A lot of sides that go down, the fans will immediately blame lack of quality or bad signings or not enough money spent, and we haven't got that at all. It's been the team hasn't been able to gel, despite behind the scenes a lot of togetherness shown, and that the team seemed pretty certain that they were going to get themselves out of it. It's not happened for one reason or another, but it does leave a bad taste in my mouth. Some of these players on loan, and I think we had too many loans. Don't save you. We had too many, and the fact that a lot of these players can leave, get good new next clubs now and good transfers, and we've got to try and pick ourselves up out of the mire, really. I mean, at least we haven't spent again like we did the last time we went down. I mean, that was ridiculous spending, really, and that did make it worse. That was another downside. I mean, we were in poor financial position after that. This time, not so much. Harrison Reed, great signing. I think if you look at the team for next season, it looks all right. We've got a decent back five there. Rodak. There is reasons to be positive, but we just need this security behind the scenes. They need to sort it out. We need something. We need a message from the chairman, and one that actually talks about real change. Something from Parker. Something's got to change because it's not right at the moment, is it?
No. Final message here, just like this, from James Griffin says, Scott says he has learned a lot this season. Do you think that might include the fact that scoring goals is important to win football matches? And round of applause, James, because I think that is the key message, really. We've been okay. The signings have been fine this season, but ultimately Parker could not find an attacking plan that could score the goals to save Fulham. And the fact that you look at our final 4 home games this season, and yes, you can argue that home games, away games doesn't matter this season, but defeats to Leeds, Wolves, Burnley and Newcastle, you lost 4 out of 4, scoring 1 goal in that time. Home or not home, 1 goal against those teams is a shocking return and is the exact reason why we are going down this year. So I will draw a curtain on the relegation party for today. Thank you so much for watching full-time throughout the season. It's been a nice thing that we've been able to do during lockdown. I don't know if we'll do it next year. It might be difficult with lots of us going back to the grounds to actually watch games, but certainly it's been something that we've really, really enjoyed doing after every game this season. And, having you guys kind of instantly comment and rant and celebrate with us every single game has just been really, really nice for myself, Jack, Dom, Ben, Jack Kelly, whoever's kind of George Cooper, whoever's hosted these full-time lives. We absolutely love doing them. So thank you so much for getting involved all year. And I just want to say, have a wicked summer. Enjoy kind of your weekends without Fulham ruining them. And then no doubt we'll be absolutely buzzing to go back in grounds. Let's hope. In August as well, and hopefully things are looking a lot brighter for next season. But if next Saturday, fucking come on, Swansea City, that is all. Yes. That is Swansea City, save our season, please God. I am a Jack. I'm wearing the shirt. Anything, I will do anything to make Swansea win next Saturday. But Cam, thank you very much. Have a good rest of your Sunday.
Likewise, chaps. It's not all doom and gloom. Let's be happy about it. Come on, lads. Bring on next year.
And Rhys, thank you very much.
Cheers, Sammy. Cheers, Cam. Yeah, it wouldn't be Fulham, would it, if we magically stayed up on the line all day, the final day? It wouldn't. This is the Fulham we know and love.
Yeah, exactly. Cheers, everyone. Have a great summer. Come on, you Whites.
Nice one, lads.
Cheers.